All right, Scavengers, welcome to the Six Scale Scavengers podcast slash YouTube show, episode number 32. I'm Bryan Fontaine. I am joined, as always, with my good friends, TC and Chris Letty. Guys, there's some Star Wars up in here. That's all I got to say. I mean, Chris, we'll start with you here in a moment, but we've had a lot of content on our YouTube channel, our podcast feed. We've got a great community, really supportive community too. And just, we've had a lot of newer people join our group lately. Just, we've been around for a little over a year and a half, Chris, give or take. And, we've been plugging away at this. We're trying to do the right thing, trying to provide help for new collectors, experienced collectors. Just give everybody a chance to come hang out with us on video, feel like they're part of the shows. We've got our, the live chat here now with YouTube through StreamYard. And it's just really cool. And there's been a lot of people in the community, well-known people in the community. I know we just had Jetta Patrol just found us. It's just on a random, we had Jank and Wong, who that episode was, I'm all over the place already, guys. It's all right. But that episode that Steve had on the Assemble with Jankin was just fantastic. He's such a great part of the community based right there in Hong Kong. And it's funny because it's like that, Chris, it's like that ripple effect, the butterfly effect. You kind of throw a pebble and it kind of just creates these extra ripples, and you never know who's going to find you. And I think it's just cool. I mean, we're just kind of doing our thing.
Yeah, it is pretty cool the way that works. Steve's done a really good job to get some guests that are prominent in the six scale community and stuff, and just having those guests on there brings in more people, and it just finds people looking for more content. And I mean, we'll gladly welcome all those content creators and six scale collectors. It's just great to see the community grow organically, and yeah, it's just a good time. What do you think, TC?
Yeah, I mean, the last few weeks have been awesome. Like you said, Bryan, the episode with Jank and Wong, the Scavengers Assemble, was a really fun time, and it's been an exciting few weeks. Yeah, I know it's been a little over 2 weeks since we last recorded, but I know this is definitely not an episode that I have to get myself up for. This is going to be a fun episode. A lot of news, a lot of changes. A lot of action. So
yeah, as Mike just said in the live chat, 2 live unboxings in our private Facebook group earlier. I did one for Crate Luke, Matt, the pro, the hot toys of live unboxings. I'm kind of like the so toys version. Chris, if I guess
I'm Toys Era.
Your Toys Era.
Yeah.
I mean, still very acceptable. Not necessarily a knockoff, but yeah. So, and I mean, now we've got the podcast episode here. So guys, I had, before we get into, we got a couple giveaways to do before we get kicked into news, but where was I going with this? Agenda, because I usually it's like 25 minutes in and I'm like, oh yeah, this is what we're talking about today. So episode 32, you guys mentioned it. We've got tons of news. We've got like Thor, Hulk, the Vader. It's been a while since we even been in between. The three of us haven't even talked about IG-11 or Mandalorian. Like I mentioned, we've got a ton of Star Wars. Like the collection update could just be the entire episode this time. So what we're going to do is kind of briefly go through our collection update, but then kind of use that as a springboard to talk about, it's something that I saw that happens in our dynamic, just our trio as a podcast host trio here, and how we all build off each other, but how we can try to help our collecting friends and then also our larger group. So that's going to be kind of our discussion. It's going to be open-ended. We're dubbing it, guys, 6 scale enablers. I can't remember who came up with that. I don't know if it was Steve or Matt on one of the assembles, but that's going to be the topic. And then we are going to talk about Scarlet Spider. VGM 34 is going to be our feature figure review. I've hinted on it the last couple episodes because I've had it in hand for a while. Spoiler alert, I'm probably going to give it 5 stars, or whatever. We're going to go from that. So, and we're going to try to do our best to kind of interact with everybody tuning in live. So, Chris, we've got some giveaways. Unfortunately, we did a giveaway the last time, and I had some digital codes to give away. We didn't have somebody that claimed the digital code for Guardians of the Galaxy, so it's my code. I'm going to decide to do a redraw. So instead of having a chance of everybody having a 1 in 4, now it's the people that originally submitted for 1 in 3. We didn't let anybody else enter, just to be fair. So everybody that was entered in before has basically a 33.34% chance of winning. And just because I have already selected that winner, we're going to go ahead and announce that now. So the winner of our Guardians of the Galaxy digital code is Tom Welling. And I believe that's an alias. We have a few people in our group that have an alias, but
what?
Yeah, air quotes Tom. If you want to reach out to me afterwards, I'll hook you up with that digital code. So that is some good stuff. We love giving back to the community that supports us every week in and out. I don't like TC, just to allude to what you just said. It doesn't feel like work. I mean, the 3 of us, we're good friends. We talk throughout. There's not a day that goes by that we don't really talk, and it's mostly about collecting. Sometimes it's about your Georgia Bulldogs, TC, but for the most part, it's collecting.
Oh yeah,
and I didn't mean to rub salt in the wound from this past weekend at all.
Yeah, I also went to Alabama, so anytime Georgia loses, I can always fall back on the tide.
Okay, well, they've got a pretty good team. So, all right, Chris, we have a giveaway here, and I'll let you kind of give the backstory to it, and then we'll go ahead and let everybody know what the details are of how we're going to give this away tonight.
Yeah, so one of our members, our listeners, presented the opportunity to provide a giveaway for everyone, and it's a sealed copy of Spider-Man: Far From Home 4K, as you can see on the screen there, and it was pretty nice. Always love when one of our members is willing to to give something up for everybody else. But so we're going to do something a little bit different as far as the giveaway goes. We have a special passcode that we are Brian's going to tell you, and then we will go, we'll see what happens after that.
All right, so this is what we're going to do. So we are going to give it away, just not to force you guys to hang around. We'd love to have everybody hang around anyways. So after we do news and before we do our collection update, I will give away the passcode that everybody, we're going to ask that you put into the chat. From there, TC, we had talked a while ago, but I'm going to kind of spring this on you. If you can do the best to try to keep tabs on the chat and just write down names, and we'll hopefully get a couple people. And then what we'll do at the end of the episode is I'll go to a random number generator, and we'll find out how many people we have entered, and I'll just in order that people entered, that will be their number assigned. Lo and behold, we'll go ahead and pick a winner.
Sounds good.
Yep. So, like I said, we're not for the other thing too. I would say is obviously this was a very generous gift that somebody in our group donated. Please only enter if you. I believe, Chris, this is going to be coming from that member directly, correct?
Yes. Yep. They're going to send it.
Yeah, so they're going to be the one to send it. So I would really love to be able to give this to somebody in our group watching live that doesn't already have this, and obviously has it with the intention of keeping it themselves. That's just kind of our ask there. So, and it's very timely because we're talking about a Spider-Man figure tonight. So
perfect.
All right, guys, let's talk news. And You guys, we got some news.
Loaded.
Loaded. So it's kind of weird now. The way that we have the schedule, guys, is either on a Friday or Saturday. Steve will have his assemble, and then we're basically coming in like 4 or 5 days later. So oftentimes when we record these live, it's usually anything that's happened from the past assemble to now is like what's new to us, new to everybody. And instead of trying to like rehash everything, we're only going to briefly mention some of the things that have already been talked about. I'm sure nobody's going to complain about more collecting talk, especially for free, whether it's here on YouTube or our RSS podcast feed. But let's go ahead and get started. And guys, let's start with, we're going to go ahead and get started with Thor, Chris. So we got Thor from Endgame, Thorbowski, Thick Thor, as Steve has called him, up for pre-order, $274. And it looks like this one's going to be available at the very beginning of 2021.
Well, I mean, we had gotten teased, I don't know how long ago, a month or two ago, that, you know, he was coming, but then didn't see him at SDCC, didn't see him at NYCC, didn't see him over at the Hong Kong shows or anything. So, yeah, just kind of, I guess Hot Toys was ready to, put him up for pre-order, and yeah, he's going to be a hot ticket. I know a lot of people were looking for him to complete their lineup, and I mean, he looks pretty cool. He looks cool with all the, the braids and the beard, and he's got his Stormbreaker all lit up and everything. But yeah, this one, I don't know. It was kind of weird. I'll just mention it. It sold out, pre-order sold out on Big Bad Toy Store, like already. And I just couldn't believe that, because that's where I was going to go for it. But
yeah, they tend to do that. It happens mainly on Marvel, happens mainly on figures with no NRD.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes if it's Iron Man, it might take a few months if they do have an NRD. But
yeah,
for a figure like this, where it's $275, people don't want to put an NRD down. They'll go to Big Bad Toy Store just to hold it. I did order through them, actually, and I like this release.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for me to get excited because it's so far out. But the fact that you get the Stormbreaker that lights up, and then you also get Mjolnir that lights up, you can then use that for Captain America.
And it's proper scale too.
I know, it is nice. It's a nice accessory.
Yeah, like I'm okay with one we got from Infinity War. I'd love it to be the bigger size here, but I'm also not much of a custom guy or kit bashing and all that other stuff. I was also surprised, Chris, that this sold kind of, and I don't know if I'll talk about in the collection update. I've been trying to move more of my pre-orders and stuff over to Big Bad Toy Store just because of the savings on the shipping, being able to do $4 shipping, and you get it basically double boxed. And not that I'm like anti-Sideshow by any means, but I feel like any of the rewards you get is kind of the kickback to kind of make the cost even. But instead of having to spend money to get money back, that's where Big Bad Toy Store is a little bit more appealing. So as soon as this dropped, I jumped right on it as soon as it was made available. And because I order certain Hot Toys from Big Bad Toy Store, anytime there's a new Hot Toy up for pre-order, I get an email about it like as soon as it hits the website. So I know to kind of use that as my gauge to say like, yes, I got to go ahead and go ahead and do that. So
yeah, that's a learning experience for me. I was kind of bummed out. We'll have to either go Sideshow or look for alternative places to order from. But yeah, I mean, he's one that I want. I haven't really. I'm kind of going away from the day one pre-orders right now, just because I've been picking up so many previously released figures. But yeah, it's a great figure release. Awesome look.
TC, I didn't grab any of the images for anybody on the YouTube feed right now and not listening to the podcast. I grabbed a couple images from the Sideshow's website on this to show kind of everybody the scale of Stormbreaker and whatnot, and the light up effects on this look great. Even a couple people in the chat right now, Savon is saying too that the battle damage Thanos was showing up. So whether, I don't know, TC, not to put you on the spot, but do you think we're going to get another Thanos release, or do you think that prototype is going to get altered, because are they going to give him the Stark Gauntlet instead of the Infinity Gauntlet, and are we going to get an option for that battle armor look?
I think we're going to get a separate figure. I think it's going to come out probably right when the other one's released. So the original Thanos from Endgame is slated to release, I think, at the end of this year, or early in 2020. So I think right then we might see battle damaged, or maybe a little bit before. I'm kind of kicking myself because I'm not even mad at Hot Toys, because I know how they work. They like to obviously get multiple uses of the same body that they develop from scratch, which makes sense financially from a business perspective. But I jumped the gun and I pre-ordered Thanos, the original Endgame version, on Sideshow, dropped the $45, I believe what it was, for the NRD. And now I find myself, unfortunately, wanting to trade out to the new one that's going to come out, or at least I think is going to come out. But we'll see what happens. We'll see if Sideshow throws me a bone and lets me do that. I just am a little bit disappointed that I jumped the gun. And this is why also I'm not going to be pre-ordering stuff anymore. There's no need to, other than the fact that it fulfills a desire to get in the game. Kind of. These figures aren't going anywhere. You can get them upon release. Only a rare exception, like Yondu was a pretty close call from pre-order to release, and then I think like a couple of figures like Hela may have sold out pretty quick, but those are one-offs. Figures like Thanos, they're going to be in stock. But it looks great.
Yeah, the Infinity War one is still readily available. Some retailers I think are even doing some discounts. Not Sideshow, but some other outlets that some collectors have found. But yeah, I'm kind of with you too. I think there's going to be another Thanos release.
Yeah, so going back to the live chat right now, Chris is saying, wish you could see the light the eyes without the black light. And Jetta Patrol, who we just mentioned a little bit ago, thanks for stopping by. He's saying definitely a second Thanos. So, I mean, if they're going to have that option to do that, my main issue with that isn't, I love the fact that there's alternate versions of it. It's being able to display it. Like right now, I have the Infinity War Thanos over my left shoulder here in a quarter scale case I gotten from Sideshow. I think at Legend Cases or Studios or whatever it is. I mean, it's hard to kind of have multiple versions of a figure that doesn't necessarily fit in a DTOF, or you need to make some mods in a DTOF, or going with a Billy case. So interesting to see. I think, Chris, some people are going to end up maybe making, I know we're not really necessarily talking Thanos now, but maybe have to make that determination, like maybe something like you did with the Mark 85, and you've got the standard version versus the battle damage. You went to the extreme of like canceling a pre-order, but like if you haven't pre-ordered either of them and you have that decision to make, I mean, I think people are going to go with what they want to see in their collection.
Yeah, if I'm going to get a second Thanos, it's going to be that battle damage one, because the Endgame one, it looks cool with the armor and everything, but it's not,
not accurate.
It's not accurate, and it's not. The moments in that movie are more iconic with him being, battle damaged. And so, yeah, I guess we'll see. It's probably, it's just figuring out when they would actually, show that, release that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Oh, sorry, Chris, my bad. I don't want the Thanos set. The Thanos that's, I guess, been previewed already. He's the Thanos that goes back in time, basically, or is shown back in time. There's no, like you said, there's no big moment. The big moment is at the end of the movie, and then also, if you want to date back a movie prior, that Thanos has a lot more iconic moments. This one will be third on my list, and unfortunately, yeah. It's what I've done. So I'll have to eat the cost maybe.
Oh well.
All right, let's move over to talk about Endgame Hulk. And this one's been on my list wanting for a while. I have an extra one of those legend cases I've had for several months, just anticipating that they would release this. I was anticipating this one just because I don't have a Hulk in my collection, and it's not the popular opinion necessarily, but this was my favorite version of Hulk, was the Professor Hulk, and he's not necessarily the Hulk out and like Age of Ultron or even the original Avengers or even going back to Thor Ragnarok with Gladiator Hulk, but so. I mean, we even, Chris, went to joking as far as saying, I know you're the 1/6 clothier that we have now. Like, could you design a his taco outfit for this, and you kind of overlay that, and then you've got Taco Hulk. But anyways, all kidding aside, guys, I think this figure looks pretty good. Head sculpt is there. I didn't know. I guess I probably forgot, TC, that the Stark Gauntlet was going to come with this, and it looks like you can use it with it or without. It's not like it's going to be always installed. This figure has gotten a little bit of criticism already, even within our own group, people calling it Hulk in a onesie. But I mean, this was the scene. I mean, TC, to go back to your earlier point, he even says, like, this is what he was made for, was this moment to do the snap, and this is where we get it. So I mean, I like this look here for everybody that can't see on the audio feed right now, but he does come with the glasses, so you kind of have that kind of Professor Hulk look. He's got a
iPad.
I mean, this is probably a full size iPad, and it looks like a iPhone Plus here. And I'm just looking here at the some of the things in some of the chat, like Jed is saying Gladiator Hulk for the win. Noble likes this Hulk more. Derek's saying he needs a smiling head sculpt. Chris, I'm with you, buddy. He needs a taco. And I mean, I guess let's talk the price, TC. $375. I guess that's kind of what I expected.
Yeah. I mean,
go ahead.
At first, I thought it was high, but as I looked at the pictures, I was saying in the text before, I think it's surprisingly loaded. I mean, you get 2 or 3 of the gauntlets, and then obviously, the iPad and the glasses. But those gauntlets, those are pretty substantial accessories, in my opinion. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, the price, we all know how things have been trending, so it's not a huge surprise that this is the price from Sideshow. I don't think people did the conversion from Hong Kong. I mean, it's the typical, markup, coming to the US market. I'm fine with it. I forget where Gladiator Hulk, was, stood as far as the price goes. And I know that one stuck around for a long time, even had, free shipping deals and stuff towards the end of that one. I think it's sold out, right?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it was $354. That was the price. Sounds about right.
So, and then shipping's probably going to be, it's probably going to be another $30 on this guy. So, and then people that have to pay tax. I mean, you're starting to get over 400. So, definitely something to keep in mind. A good figure to drop a bunch of rewards points on if you're getting them through Sideshow. And he does have an NRD from BBTS, I believe.
10%.
So can't really get around that from that retailer. But I mean, he's on my list too. Again, I haven't ordered him yet, but I gotta have him for that end game lineup.
Yeah, Bryan, I just want to ask you a question about this. Do you think this is the only Hulk we're getting? Because it's odd that they would release this one first if it was one of 2, but usually Hot Toys develops more than one issue. Like when they develop a new body, more than one figure.
To be honest, TC, that thought didn't even cross my mind. So like, what other look do you think we'd get?
Quantum.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a possibility. I know the three of us have kind of all soured on the quantum suits over the course of the last couple of episodes. If you haven't tuned in a few months, but we're all kind of giddy excited about them. I may be wrong, but I think we've all canceled that Tony pre-order just because I don't know if we're going to get the rest of them. And there's a lot more cooler figures that are coming out that have a lot more accessories that I think are a little bit better values. But I mean, for me, I've been looking forward to this one for a while. I'm kind of looking to put a capstone kind of on my Avengers collection. I wanted to make sure I had that original 6 in endgame format because, to be honest, like the figures when Avengers came out versus now, they're just not holding up. Even Cap is just not a good figure, but I couldn't part with it because of the sentimental value of it. But I don't know. We'll see. But I'm glad to be able to get this and know that we can complete that, that original 6 in endgame format. And the versions we're getting, guys, let's be honest, they're good.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Up next, Chris, was I know one that you've been kind of excited as I'm stalling a little bit to get the images up here was Killmonger.
Yeah, Killmonger released in Hong Kong, and our buddy Jenkin Wong, he already had done his little review and stuff, had it in hand for the Assemble episode, and it's kind of got, it's a little bit of a controversial release just because of the design change from prototype to final product, and then compared to the actual suit from the movie. Hot Toys decided to add some gold accents to maybe try to like mimic a powering up kind of look. It's just I think it's one of those things where you're expecting one thing and you get a different. And it's not necessarily that in my opinion, it doesn't look horrible, but it's just not the way it looked. So sometimes, Steve had some good points where, if it looked like that in the movie, I think people would be fine with it. But it's got other details. It's got some cool leopard effects and everything. But the big thing with this is, Hot Toys freaking nailed the head sculpt of Michael B. Jordan.
Yep.
It looks amazing. it just
really digging that.
No, I'm totally digging the head sculpt. So Sideshow, I got the email yesterday or the other day saying that they will have that in their warehouse next week, and it'll be shipping out October 22nd, I believe. So people will start getting it in a couple weeks in hand over here. I just want to see what it looks like in hand, honestly. I want to have in-hand experience with it. I've been looking forward to this figure for a long time. It's one of the first figures I pre-ordered when I started collecting. I think back, I looked at it, it's like February 9th of 2018. Wow. I think I pre-ordered it. So yeah, it'll be good to see it in hand. And I know Gary's really excited to get that one too. And
I was going to say, Gare Bear might rival your excitement on this one.
Yeah, I don't know if I could be as excited.
He's more excited than you are.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I love about our group is the level of enthusiasm, the love that we have for the collecting. It's not to just collect stuff. I mean, it's the moments and the movies and stuff that we love, and the conversations that we have. We were talking to Matt earlier after he did his unboxing, or during his unboxing. And I was giving him grief because my Luke unboxing was like maybe 10 minutes. And I would venture to guess like his would be done in about 10 minutes too. But then he uses like the other 55 minutes to just talk with people. It's great because he can he's great at it. So, and he has that angelic voice.
Yes, he does, according to Collecting Weekly.
Yeah, they need to put that on a t-shirt or something. So
Yeah, I just wanted one thing, Stephen, in the chat. He just threw out any chances of a Ulysses Claw, maybe from a third party or something. That would be pretty cool. The Marvel Legends figure is pretty sweet with the arm cannon and everything. It would be cool to get a figure like that, just because it would add, that unique, something unique to a display. But nobody's teased one. And I think you'd have to probably go the custom route, and then you're talking big bucks.
Well, it's funny too, because like that's really his only role that he's not mocapped. So nobody's doing one of
Yeah, he doesn't have an existing head sculpt really kicking out there to go off of.
Nope.
And I don't think they're going to be making his pre-Gollum character from Lord of the Rings. I doubt Asmus is going to go that deep in the lineup. So,
all right, guys, let's talk just briefly here about Crate Luke. And I grabbed a couple of the pictures. Like I said, I did the unboxing. So I'll talk about in the collection update on how I already have it in hand, and Sideshow's not going to get it for a few weeks, but I am so glad that I got it. Let me just put it that way. The figure looks better in hand, and actually these, the Hot Toys photographers that they get, I mean, this is a figure you're getting, guys. It's crazy. The look in the eye, I mean, this isn't photoshopped. The beard looks great. It's not like way too dark or anything. I can't wait to be able to pose with the arm brush. I mean, the solo dice obviously are made of plastic, but they're actually a little you can they're decent.
Is the chain metal or is it plastic?
I'm pretty sure it's plastic, but it's painted to look like that. So overall, I mean, I know the movie's not for everybody. We're not going to debate about that now at this point, but for me, it's one of the most iconic scenes of Luke, and I had to have it. And I got a huge backlog of things to unbox, and I'm trying not to rush through it because I want to enjoy it. These things aren't cheap, and so I'm looking forward to being able to get that on a shelf soon.
And you got those boots. Anytime that they do the Star Wars boots with the wraps, when they don't do the pleather, I'm all in on that figure.
So it's funny to see that you mentioned that, because there is a lot of things that they reused from the Hobo Luke or Octu Luke. The hands are all the same. The boot wraps and stuff are all the same. I don't know if the pants are the same, but obviously the tunic is different. The hood is wired, and actually at the bottom of his robe is wired too. So you can kind of create some really flowing looks, and it's pretty cool.
They also got his body like perfect. It's not really too skinny, but it's not really fat either. It's just kind of just a little bit like he's like just an older man. They just got the old man body perfect. I think it's an awesome figure. I think it's, like you said, I think it's pretty much perfect.
Yeah, so other stuff, I mean, we didn't have it in notes because they really covered it on the assemble, but Bucky's released. I actually have it in hand over next to me. It's still in a box, so looking forward to Chris is pointing at our logo. I
unboxed him already. No, he's right next to our logo. He's right there. He's in the shadows. So
gotcha. Yeah. So what early impressions, Chris?
Oh man, it's crazy. The head sculpt is nuts. The detail in the arm and the outfit. I know Matt's not too crazy about, just a boring figure, but and the rifle is. I want to show some pictures to my buddy Justin because he's really into guns, and this thing's got so many small moving parts, and I put all the pieces together, and that blip effect arm. The snap effect is pretty sweet too. And we all know that we can't recreate that pose. Steve tried holding Rocket by the collar, but the figure is really, really sweet for, not having a ton of detail going on. it's a lot of people saying, potentially, top 5 sculpt of the year so far.
I mean, not to jump the gun, but the three of us will do our own kind of awards season probably in January once we let December happen. Chris, I think you and I jumped the gun a little bit last year, but we were rookies at this podcast. Well, I'm not a rookie at podcasting. I've been doing this for like a decade, but the just the awards season type thing that we'll do. So I'm looking forward to having TC as involved with that. And the funny thing is, Chris, is like, I think the last time we did it, I don't even know if we had 50 members. And I think we're up to 185. And I think we're going to get a better cross section of what people feel like are really good figures. Just even looking at what the Hot Toys photographers were able to do with this one. I mean, it's an early favorite for potentially that top 5. And it sounds kind of blasphemous to say, but I mean, I think that head sculpt looks really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Can't disagree.
All right. Other news, obviously quarter scale Vader got released. I know everybody's been putting on the full court press on Roy to get that as well. I know Steve bended his will and after the episode, and oops, kind of spilled the beans on that one, Steve, but and then obviously we've kind of talked at length about Mandalorian and IG-11, but this is all stuff that happened in between like our last episode here. It's kind of crazy.
Both. Quarter scale Vader, the photography, promo images of that just look, I mean, it just looks top notch. I know a lot of collectors are really excited about that. Looks awesome. Not something I would get into. And Mandalorian, IG-11, again, they're on my list, but I'm kind of hanging back a little bit for those. Just that Mandalorian figure. I mean, the prototype at NYCC, it looked like there was an actual person, particular pictures and stuff like that, right angles and
shrunken down human.
Yeah. The draping of the fabric and everything. It looks like a pretty sweet figure. I mean, it kind of prompted me to jump on a purchase we'll talk about here. But what about you? I mean, what do you guys think?
I just want to know what Roy's excuse is going to be when he gets the quarter scale Vader, and then he has all his 6 scale figures that he says will be puny next to a quarter scale Vader. I just want to know what his excuse is going to be. I'm waiting.
He's going to get it, guys. You have to know that he will. So, and they talked about that at length on the latest Rogue One sixth episode. I can't ever say that right. It was awesome to get the trio of Matt, Roy, and PJ, the Paradox Nerd. That's it's, as we've come to find out, having a trio works well. And I know a lot of our listeners in particular, we're on episode 32 here. We've, the OG show that we have here. We're back to talking about Star Wars, which I know a lot of our viewers and listeners are happy about, but you've got, it's about once a month, an exclusively Star Wars show. And we'll try to talk to Matt about Badmouth and Marvel a little bit. I mean, you can still enjoy it without having to. So I'm just giving him grief. But all right, guys, before we get into the collection update, I do want to give the password away for our Spider-Man Far From Home giveaway. So TC, are you going to be ready to start keeping track of some of these names here?
Yes, let me get my notes ready.
All right.
And I'll make a note.
Get ready, listeners.
All right. So what we're going to do here is we'll give away the passcode. It's really easy. It shows that you're actually paying attention and listening. Is after we say the passcode here, typing it in between, and we'll give you all the way up until we do the drawing. Actually, we'll cut it off at the feature figure review when we start doing about that, because we'll need to have time to tabulate. I know TC won't have this in hand, so he can make sure that we've got the list. I know we've got 27 viewers out there right now. Before I give this away, again, just another plug, just to say, please only put it in if you don't already have this and you would enjoy this yourself. So, guys, all right, it worked well last time. Let's do a drum roll. All right. So the passcode that you'll need to type in if you want to win the sealed copy, 4K copy of Spider-Man Far From Home is Edith. Edith is the passcode. So we'll start keeping track of that. And thank you again for one of our members for being able to give that away. And looking forward to being able to do that. All right, guys. I feel like we need another drum roll, or maybe like the Fox fanfare for the collection update, because, you know, going back to OG Star Wars here. But this is going to take a bit. I know we wanted to kind of gloss this over, but I don't think you can really gloss this stuff over, guys. So, TC, I want to start with you this week, buddy.
Yes, let's start with the appetizer, because clearly the major overhauls on the other side, but mine was pretty good too. But we'll start with what I sold. I'm trying to get away from some of the figures that are in the periphery with Marvel, some of the ones that aren't what I would deem is my main interest. So I sold Neon Tech Iron Man. I sold my Mark II diecast, and I sold the Mark IV portion of the gantry set. So I had unfortunately misplaced a piece of the set, so I had to kind of part it out, and I ended up selling that portion of it. And I also ended up returning my Scarlet Spider for reasons not related to anything about me wanting to sell it. There's a defect on it that we'll get into later. Actually, maybe I'll just tell now. There was an error in shipping. I guess the way they pack the figure, sometimes I guess the shoulder / arm can get kind of pressed up against the plastic clamshell too hard, and it just dented the printing of the left arm. So that epoxy printing that they do, where they print over the cloth, you can see in the picture there. Picture's not great, but that glare it's a smash into the print. And on the other side, there's some of the webbing has a little bit of an issue where it's kind of smashed in as well. And for almost $300, I just said, no, I'm not going to deal with it. So I just said, forget it. I'm just going to send it back. And I sent it back. So in addition to that, yeah. Oh yeah, go ahead, Brian.
No, I was just going to say I felt horrible for you, because I've been talking for multiple weeks here about how much I love the figure, and it's crushing just to kind of get that news for something, especially to a figure where it's an exclusive, where they're not going to have a lot available.
That's why I just said forget about it. But yeah, it's disappointing, but you know, it happens. But I also did a couple things to free up some money. I canceled my advanced suit, and I canceled my Stanley. So someone out there is getting a couple good figures that I'm not going to be purchasing. And I did that because you guys probably don't know this, but it is very difficult when I'm seeing these messages fly through the podcast thread about these two getting Star Wars figures. I want to jump in on that too. And
that's why we have the episode topic that we do today.
Exactly. And I still had several of them. I never sold them. I just haven't actively displayed them, but it kind of got me back into the groove. And I ended up with the extra funds and the extra budget. I ended up acquiring a K2SO, and that K2SO I got for almost retail pretty much after everything included. And I got an Obi-Wan Kenobi from A New Hope, and Luke Skywalker from A New Hope, and Return of the Jedi Luke. I got 2 of those. So there's a lot of money to be had in that transaction, but a lot of money was freed up as well. And I was able to take advantage of that and kind of transfer stuff over to stuff I really liked. And Rogue One is one of my favorite movies pretty much out there. And the A New Hope stuff, before I transitioned into Marvel, and actually this is years ago, those A New Hope figures were my first ones I ever had back in 2015. And so I wanted a couple of them back. And in addition to that, when I was on the show with Yost, with the owner of Jazz Inc., his I guess explanations, his I guess knowledge he had, and the behind the scenes look he gave us made me want to go even a step further. And to pair my New Hope figures, I have the X-34 Luke speeder. So
yes,
the land speeder. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. but I have it coming, so we'll see.
Sounds
But
like
yeah,
the other guy's getting it. I don't know where I'm going to put it, but I'll find a place for it. That's
I have,
awesome.
yeah. I think I'm gonna do some stuff with some wall shelves and that kind of thing because I have a lot of space in my office. You can't see it, but it's out there to my left, and I like to kind of fill it up with some stuff. And yeah, so that's
So
my.
TC, I did have one question because I don't know, I'm
Mhm.
assuming maybe I know the answer to this, but maybe some of our listeners not. So you did mention, if anybody didn't catch it, that you got 2 Jedi Lukes, and I know why you've got 2, but why don't you
Because
extrapolate on that a little bit?
there's first of all there's 3 very distinct looks. Now I wanted to get the 2 because you don't get the cloak or the cloak in the deluxe version. So the one he wears in Jabba's palace, that only comes
Mhm.
with this original one. So I had to have that one. And then the final look at the end of Return of the Jedi, I wanted that look as well, the all black Jedi look. So I'm leaving out the one look where he's at the where he's traveling on. What are they back in Tatooine? Where do they go?
On the Sarlacc?
Yeah, the Sarlacc. Yes, on the Sarlacc. That look I'm going to say for the deluxe version. So I wanted the 2 looks from the different parts of the movie, and the third one going forward.
You know what? The thing is, too, is most people think that would be crazy, but we know exactly what you're trying
They're
to do.
distinct. They're distinct. That's the important thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and being one of my favorite movies, I know that very well. So, Mr. Letty.
All right. Well, we talked about Bucky. He's right up there on the shelf. So he came in today, and then I got Stanley that came in also. I'm probably going to try to do a live unboxing tomorrow night. We'll see how things go schedule wise. So my co-hosts, they're encouraging me and stuff to maybe free up some space. So I sold a bunch of figures. I sold Pepper Potts from Iron Man 3, Age of Ultron Hawkeye, Civil War Black Widow, Civil War Iron Man Mark 46 to our good friend Zach from Collecting Weekly. There was a good story. He talked about it on one of his latest podcasts, and then Steve talked about it on the Assemble because he kind of fit in to that whole deal, buying a couple of figures off Zach. And then I decided to sell.
I just to interject here. I felt like the power broker on that one.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, you're like giving me the list of all the figures. I don't think you need that one. I don't think you need this one. You could probably, So I'm like, you know what? I really don't need, that many Iron Man figures. I'm not a completist. I don't need that many Black Widow figures.
I think that's when we got to talking about, like, do you really need the Civil War stuff because you didn't have it others? And I know that you were kind of feeling bad about the 46 because you got that scrape deal, and not that you needed my permission, but I was like, it's all right, buddy, you can do it. And then and you're like, I think then you had that evil, good conscience, bad conscience, like, ooh, $700-800 versus retail. And then you were like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, if you're going to sell it to retail, there's only one person that I know would be game for that.
I'm surprised you got rid of that one, Chris. Considering there are other Iron Man figures that you could part with.
Yeah, I figured. So I'm holding out hope for Mark 1 diecast.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I've got 7 coming soon, and then I've got the rest of them, 2 through 6. So I was thinking, and I've got Mark 50, Mark L. So, it's just one of those things. I had to trim it. That's a lot of money, just hanging out there that, those figures weren't, I mean, they look awesome and that sort of thing. But if I was to do this transition, so to speak, I was going to have to bring to get some capital. So on top of that, Mark 46, I sold my concept art Mark 46 and Cap, sold those as a pair, and also decided to sell or or list at least a bunch of the Kit Bashed figures, and I sold the Super MC Toys Nano Suit kit just today on eBay, and got a couple other ones listed. So with all that, I mean, it just freed up a bunch of collecting funds to get some Star Wars figures. And literally right after we recorded, I looked and for Revenge of the Sith Obi-Wan. So I actually ordered a deluxe one. I had a pretty sizable chunk of Amazon rewards points actually, and I looked on Amazon and they had a deluxe that was actually cheaper than the regular version. And so I ordered that up, got a great deal on that. And I mean, that came absolutely pristine, double boxed from a retailer in California. So that was great. Then I got Return of the Jedi Luke Jedi. I got the Force Awakens Rey and BB-8 set, the one that Matt just did the live unboxing. And there's a reason why I got that set. Plus, it had the $150 credit from Big Bad Toy Store, which I used on the A New Hope Vader and Tarkin set, which was still available at retail. And that set is pretty friggin' awesome. So I'm kind of hitting the different, a couple characters from each movie. And then I ordered The Last Jedi Kylo Ren and The Return of the Jedi Stormtrooper. So they should be here this week. And then I also got Jin from my co-host here.
Yes.
Jin Deluxe, which, man, that figure in hand, I just love that figure. And like you, I love
nice.
Rogue One.
Yeah, it is nice. And I had another one of those duplicate situations, but I didn't feel that I was ever going to pose her with the hat and the rifle as the main look.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite look.
I know it's a great one, but the first look I want to have her is just in her normal outfit. So sure. I was able to part ways with it. Gave it to Chris, or
I
sold it to him.
Yeah. So happy to add her to the collection too. And it's just got me thinking pairings and triplicate, trios of figures that could potentially be arranged. So that's kind of how I'm planning things out. And then I actually pre-ordered young Han Solo regular version and Krennic from Big Bad Toy Store. So I'm something about Solo. I was just rewatching it while eating my lunch yesterday, and I'm just like, man, I freaking love this movie. So I wish that there was potentially more figures coming from that movie, but like TC, you said, you think the line's, capped off. And
my wife actually really likes that movie too. She's not a hardcore Star Wars fan, but she enjoys the movies, and we watched them all like 5 months ago, and that was her favorite one. She loved that movie because it's so action packed.
Yeah,
it's just exciting.
It's funny you say that because my wife, I finally got her to to watch it last year, and she was like, I really liked that movie. It was really fun, and it just and she really liked Rogue One also, but just those two movies. There's just something about them. I don't know what it is. Those are two movies that I find myself rewatching over and over and again. I usually gravitate towards those, but so guys, I'm in it. I'm in deep.
You're in it to win it, man.
Yeah, I've got my, the next grouping of figures that I want to go for. I just got to sell some more stuff.
It's funny because it almost feels like old news at this point, because it was literally like the day after we dropped our last episode. So we've known about this for like 2 weeks now. So I'm sure this is a little bit of a culture shock to some of our listeners here that are like, so WTF. Chris held out for 31 episodes, and all of a sudden he's got like a bajillion Star Wars figures.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
But seriously, how many Iron Men do you need?
That's
if you're not going to have all of them. Once you get rid of one, then at that point, I feel like the rest of them kind of go.
Yep, I need all of them.
Yep.
I couldn't bear myself to like. It's funny because the couple that I would, or it's like the 42 and 45, but
Yeah.
I might as well just keep them because I've already parted out some of the things. I've sold the bases, so I might as well just keep them. So, all right, yeah, finally to me here, I guess. Let me just say that I have 10 boxes of figures to the left of me that I still need to unbox. So I guess I should also say too, like I hope to, at least for our private Facebook group, to do like a collection room tour. You guys saw I tore my office apart on Sunday just on a whim. As everybody can also see here too, where I even have my desk in my office is changed. My background isn't as exciting. I've got a white door behind me. You can kind of see a little bit of my Shore Trooper collection to the left of, over my left shoulder here. To everyone's right. And but yeah, I've kind of did everything. I have 3 DTOFs side by side now. I couldn't fit a 4th just because of the power supply issue. I couldn't cover up an outlet. First world collector problems, but I really love having the look of the 3 there. And now that I'm back in Star Wars, and I think I'm already kind of breaking some of my own rules about the moments and stuff, but anyways. All right, so we were joking before we hit the record button tonight, and if I had more time and I was clever and thought about this earlier, I wanted to just put up on screen, like at the beginning of Spider-Man Far From Home, the movie we're giving away tonight, was like in memorandum of the Marvel figures that are no longer with me, because it's gonna sound really absurd about what yes, exactly, Chris, tier. It's gonna sound absurd what I'm about to talk about, but it's kind of like it's been a couple weeks and months in the works of just getting rid of some figures, transitioning to them. I have gotten a little bit more. I probably bought more than I sold, so it's not an even transition because I got a little bit into getting some of the figures that I found good deals on. All right, so long-winded way of kind of prefacing how I'm going to talk about this. So I did cancel 2 pre-orders, fine-tuning things a little bit more. I did get rid of the Tony Stark nano suit. I also get rid of the like Chris. Actually no, Chris, you didn't get rid of this yet, but the Spider-Man Advanced suit kind of pared down my Spider-Man collection a little bit. I still have Iron Spider. I still have the tech suit from Spider-Man Homecoming. Obviously the Scarlet Spider, as well. Because I decided to let go of my my homemade suit. One night, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. I just decided like I didn't necessarily need the video game suit. Just I wanted to be able to spend that money on some Star Wars figures. So both of those kind of got the axe. From there, let's see. I think I talked about this on one of the assembles we did for New York Comic Con. I got eBay bucks, and they were pretty substantial to the point where I went hunting for a figure on eBay, and I didn't really want any of the older stuff. But I kind of mentioned Return of the Jedi is one of my favorite figures. I ended up seeing like a screaming deal for a really good condition Boba Fett from Return of the Jedi. And I went ahead and did that. And like any scavenger, I just was like, oh, well, it kind of piqued my interest from Boba Fett now. Next thing I know, I've got all 3 of them on the way. I've got the animated one and Empire Strikes Back. And it just kind of happened. I wouldn't say like Boba Fett's one of my favorite characters, but I just really like the look. And I really wanted to be able to pair them with my Shore Trooper. I know that Izar right now in the chat saying I got one of the largest Shore Trooper collections out there. I think I have the largest. I'm pretty sure I have all the releases they've ever done. I'd love to be able to do that as part of my collection update too. So I'm looking forward to having like those 3 Bobas and Shore Trooper on a shelf. Got some really good deals, paid retail for the animated one. Got the Empire Strikes Back one deluxe from Big Bad Toy Store. And of course, the next day I on Sideshow, I just really wanted the standard version. I didn't want all the extras. And I ended up having to get the deluxe from Big Bad Toy Store because the shipping was cheaper. And then next day, Sideshow found some stock, and they would have been able to get that. So what I ended up doing, and I've already done it, the listings out on eBay, is I'm just selling off the extra parts to basically get the price that I wanted to pay initially. So that's going to end in a couple days. Whew, big deep breath here. As I mentioned a little bit ago, I did get crate Luke Skywalker from Tim Cent 88 on eBay. I can't believe in like less than a week I got it from Hong Kong, and I've got free shipping. Like, if anybody have any concerns about ordering from overseas, especially from him in particular, double boxed and covering, it traveled well, and it got here well before I thought it would. It was just kind of crazy how that worked out. And the price I paid for that was essentially what Sideshow would have charged me if I reordered that and with the shipping and stuff. So, sometimes, as you've alluded to in the past, TC, like, he just seems like he has unlimited stock out there on eBay. Like, sometimes you can get really good deals, and sometimes he'll accept best offers. And that's how I offered something like $10 less than he was asking for, and he accepted it like almost immediately. So that's definitely an option.
Real quick on that. So I was looking at a Chirrut Imwe that he had, and I was just scrolling through the listing, and it said 58 sold for that figure. And I'm like, holy cow.
You can get good deals off the Star Wars stuff from him. Not stuff that's been out for a long time.
Yeah.
That's out of print, but all the new stuff, it's not much more if at all, like you said, Bryan, in Sideshow. It's worth looking at.
So I've already got the Dark Side Anakin. I talked about that last time. I had that in, and I've unboxed that. I know you guys don't really care for Anakin too much. I love the character, and I actually so this was also like my Boulevard of Broken Dreams. Get a little Green Day action going on the podcast here. But I ended up now I try to reacquire some of the figures that I basically sold to our buddy Mark. And I know it gave him grief and heart palpitations last time because he thought I was going to ask back for like Obi-Wan and Jinner. So I acquired those by different means. I did find Obi-Wan A New Hope on eBay, brand new for a really good deal. That's not in hand yet. Let's see. I feel like I just keep going and going here. I did, like everybody else, got Bucky. So I know, Leonardo's in the chat right now. Everybody's jumping off Marvel. No, not all the way. I'm looking forward to getting Bucky and posing with Cap and Falcon and Black Widow. And another figure that I reacquired. So this was kind of a first, and this is why I love our group. Sometimes you just throw something out into the universe, and I didn't necessarily throw it out into our group, but I know that I was kind of talking with you guys about it, and you guys did the swap for Chris to get one of your extra Jins, TC, and I was like, man, you guys talking about that really made me miss that figure. And I'd been looking at eBay searches, and just the prices and stuff were kind of crazy. And then this past weekend, Peter in our group posted like a brand new one, a deluxe, and he happened to be saying like, hey, I'm looking to trade this for the Spider-Man homemade suit. I know it's eventually going to come out at the end of like 2020 or 2021, but like the original one that had the Tom Holland head sculpt. And of like all my Spider-Man figures, it's like the one that I could have, not that I don't like it, but if any of them I could have let go and be able to sleep at night, it was that one. So him and I went back and forth, and he's only in New York. I think we agreed to the deal, and he sent it out I think on Tuesday, because Monday was the holiday here in the stateside. And I got it today. It was here in a day. I mean, it's crazy. And I opened it up, perfect condition. So I think he'll get the Spider-Man. So I know we're not usually huge fans of trades in our group. And the thing here, we've kind of told people to be cautious in the past. But, if it's within a tight-knit community like we have, there's a little bit more accountability for something like that. So we both just basically agreed to, cover our own shipping costs and basically just have them crisscross. And, I think we basically both paid about the same, and shipping is about $9 or $10. And hopefully he feels the same way when he's got his figure in hand. But it was a different way to acquire a figure I'd been kind of looking at.
That Jin figure, I got my Jin figures from Pop Culture, like, I don't know, 5 months ago. I don't know what it was, 5 months ago, and they were selling. They couldn't get rid of them. They're discounted for like $200. And then there were promos, you could make it even go cheaper. I think I got it for like my regular for like $190, and then the deluxe for like $220, something like that, plus shipping.
And now it's jumped to over $300.
Yeah, it's
and looking at sold list. Yeah, and I mean, looking at recent sold listings and stuff too, like both figures were basically equivalent of each other. The homemade suit had been climbing, but as soon as that re-release, the reissue was announced, it's been kind of dropping. So it ended up being, a pretty even monetary swap too. So that's there. And then just one final thing. I've, like Chris, my co-host here, and I know TC, you've been busy on eBay too. I ended up just not selling yet, but listing a whole bunch of just other stuff that I had when I was going through and cleaning up my collecting room, just trying to just kind of purge and get rid of stuff that I'm not really displaying, and hopefully be able to use that to recoup some of the funds that I've spent recently.
Got to build back up that, the collecting funds, man. It's and it's just what you got to do. You got to, use that collection, as currency, as we talk about, and that way, you're not draining the bank account or the credit cards or something like that, and it just makes things a little less stressful.
It's also good to recalibrate. I mean, every so often, your interests are gonna change. So now Marvel's the first, phase 3, I believe, is winding down.
Mm-hmm.
So we still got, at least like 8 to 10 months before the next movie, and then that's gonna be Black Widow only, and then the TV stuff kicks up next year. It's just Star Wars is kind of in vogue at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Mandalorian's on deck. Obviously, Episode 9. It's just kind of how things go, and then you kind of step back and you can kind of see, well, I don't really need, my 5th Captain America like Bryan. I don't really need my 7th Iron Man. So you cut it back, and then you just can kind of trade it out. No, I'm just kidding, but it goes like that for pretty much all collectors, I think.
Yeah, and this is a good transition into a kind of our topic here, and we kind of dubbed it 6 scale enablers, just because that's the funny little inside joke that's been going around our community recently. And it was funny because I've just noticed, because of, like, I feel like you just said, TC, and I know Matt's also mentioned it right now too, like Star Wars is hot right now, and a lot of it's the hype for Mandalorian. I think people are coming around to try to be accepting of Rise of Skywalker, and what could be going back for there, but it's also just the love of kind of just going back and collecting a lot of these older figures. If you look at a lot of sold listings on the secondary market now, you're not finding too many deals on Star Wars stuff right now. There's a lot of competition for some of these figures.
Yeah, I was actually bidding on an Anakin just because it was potentially going to be a good deal, and it just ended, and it went way over my high bid, and it's just crazy because people were not
people are like us.
Yeah,
they're like
There's
us.
Probably people listening to the podcast, and it's funny because like Matt was talking about it, giving us crap about how we've been transitioning here and kind of flip-flopping, but it's not really doing that. I just I don't know. I was in complete denial that I wasn't going to go to Star Wars, or at least dabble in it, but it was just, I have so much Star Wars stuff, but the thing is, after doing that toy show and then purging like bins and bins of Star Wars stuff, and it was like that was like weighing on me, having all that stuff, that extra stuff that just I wasn't getting any enjoyment out of. I just bought it back in the day when I was just buying it to buy it, and buying 2, one to open, one, in the package, and one just in case. It's just
love that SNL skit.
I know. I die laughing every time. That's not how you play with the Millennium Falcon. That's like me with me playing with my girls. I'm like, no, that's not. But anyway, it's purging all of that stuff, and then I've got right over to my right, I've got just tons of stuff that I've got ready to list, Star Wars stuff. I think getting rid of that has allowed me to kind of feel like, okay, now I can dabble in the 6 scale Star Wars realm, and I can start picking up some stuff and use that money. But jokingly, we, because the timing is just, I kind of backed off. I wasn't too crazy about getting into Star Wars because Bryan was, he was kind of backing off of it. And then all it took for me to jump in was him to start getting back into it. And it's just like the floodgates open. And then now we're talking about Star Wars stuff. And then TC wants to get back into it. And then he starts talking about it. And then so-and-so, other collectors want to get, back into the Star Wars thing. I think it's natural to, because we all, most of us love Star Wars, most of us love Marvel, and some of these other franchises and stuff like that. And, we want to have this stuff
You want to collect what your friends collect too.
Exactly.
It's just more fun that way
Yeah.
when you can all kind of talk about it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So just a little bit about that, just so does like any of our daily conversations, does that impact you guys? I know I just mentioned it just maybe kind of reminisce about the gin there, but just to kind of peel back the curtain for a little bit, I mean, does that kind of get your thinking caps on when you see either people in our group discussing it, or we've got our admin chats and stuff?
Well, kind of, because it's not like Star Wars has not been discussed. It's always discussed on the assembles.
Mm-hmm.
I would say just the fact, like I said before, the fact that the Marvel's transitioning, you can kind of take a step back and just kind of assess where things are. And it's not like I don't not love, I guess, Rogue One, and then obviously the rest of the Star Wars films. I love Rogue One. So that's why I originally was going for that pretty much the whole set, but I stopped because my love for Iron Man was greater. It still is, but it was a lot greater at the time. But now that that's kind of winding down, Tony's done, I kind of want to get back into the Rogue One game, and then kind of expanding out to some of my first stuff that I collected, because my first figures were the A New Hope figures. It was MMS 279 Vader. It was Obi-Wan Kenobi. It was a 2-pack of Han and Chewie, and it was A New Hope Luke. Those are my very first figures, and I love those things. But like that was almost 5 years ago at this point. They came out in 2015, 2016. And, my interest changed over time, but kind of looking back, I know it's a little early for nostalgia, but, those were the very first ones. So to kind of get back to the roots, it feels good. And it's just something that I've enjoyed, even just in the last month or so.
Yeah, man.
Sorry to just derail the conversation here, but I just saw Cletus stop by the Hebrew Hammer here and saying his power's out, and he's I'm not sure I agree with him about the sexy son of a guns are on, but we're happy to have you stopping by, Cletus.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's posted some great stuff on Instagram.
Yeah, and I mean he's got that buying and selling on really well too. And it's not a bad thing to kind of change your mind about stuff too. I mean, I'm kind of like the admin punching bag. Everybody loves to poke fun at me. I can take it. I don't mind. I self-deprecate myself all the time and with my own humor. So it's not like my feelings get hurt at all, but it can change. But I would be fully admit, like I would say too, like sometimes I can be, and it's not necessarily swayed in terms of saying like, oh, you guys are getting this, I want to get it too. It's more of like hearing the talk and the chatter. And I think that's why people love listening to collecting content that are collectors. You just listen to what else out there, like unboxings. And I know Matt will watch anybody. He'll watch somebody unbox anything and then want to talk about it. It's just, it kind of gets you reminiscing about the nostalgia you've got for watching some of these films. Again, I think one of the reasons why we love collecting Hot Toys is you can look at your shelf and you see how detailed they are and accurate and screen accurate. They're not always perfect, but then you're taken back to like that scene in a particular movie. And it's, you don't get that with like, I mean, plastic action figures and stuff have their place, but to me that doesn't do it for me. It's looking at these collectibles that we all love.
Yeah, I think another thing too is we each have our own kind of characters or movies or whatever that call to us a little bit more. But sometimes when we, somebody else gets another figure that you weren't really thinking about, and then they kind of bring it to your attention, and you hear their passion for it, and it's like, oh man, maybe I should check out this figure, see what it's all about. And then you're like, man, this is a good figure, and I do like that movie, or I do like that scene. And it's like, okay, I've got I get this figure, I get that figure, I could pair it with one or two of the other. So it's like, it kind of gets your mind going, and you're like, I wouldn't say that's a reason to buy a figure, but I can see that happens to me. Like Obi-Wan is my favorite part of the prequel trilogy, and with you guys talking about the figure and then really looking at the images and that sort of thing, I'm like, man, that's a good representation of at least Revenge of the Sith for me. Potentially the prequel trilogy or something. So
you compare with so many things too.
Yeah.
So you like Obi-Wan, so you get that, and then you can see what goes from there.
And Chris, I've been your friend long enough to know when I need to. All I need to tell you is I'm going to change your PayPal password, and I think that's when you're a little out of control.
Yeah, I think I might need to change yours.
Well, I'm done for a while, so
I know.
I even said the same thing. I said the same thing to you. I was like, you might need to change it for a little bit, but that's why they sell this stuff. I know. Cletus was just piping in and saying that he'll sell stuff, but he doesn't ever sell his Star Wars stuff. He's glad we're talking about Star Wars again. I think we're glad about talking about Star Wars too. I think it's, as we talked about the last couple episodes, I think not necessarily going completely away and shutting off certain fandoms, but I think being able to kind of slide between them with what's going on and what's kind of not necessarily in the mainstream. I think it keeps it fresh, because then you can come back to it. I think for me, and one thing that Chris, you and I used to do was, podcasting about Star Wars, and it was always Star Wars, like every day. What's the news cycle? What's going on? Who's got a Twitter beef with who and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, it got exhausting. I'm like, this isn't fun. So I think when we decided, okay, let's talk about the figures, because that's the part we love. Mm-hmm. It's nice to be able to rotate, between basically, Marvel and Star Wars. And unfortunately, as we talk often, we apologize to DC collectors. We're just, it's not we hate DC. It's just we don't collect DC. So I'm not going to talk about something I don't know anything about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's other podcasts and YouTube channels and content creators out there that do cover DC and the other lines, Terminator, Alien, Matrix, whatever it is. So there's definitely, if that's a line that you collect, there's going to be somebody out there that is going to be talking about it. Just unfortunately, those lines don't get as many figures, and it's because Star Wars and Marvel are they're the hot ticket, and they sell. And it's some of those other lines are lucky to have gotten figures, especially in Hot Toys form. That's why you see a lot of third-party companies making characters that you would probably never see from Hot Toys. But yeah, it's just, the whole thing about 6-scale enabling, I think it's just it's a fun discussion, but definitely I say don't just buy a figure because we're talking about it. Make sure that there's a reason why you want to buy the figure. Make sure that it's something that connects with you, and make sure you've got the appropriate funds to do so, and that sort of thing. So
yeah, I'm trying to get away from buying figures because they're amazing, because they look cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like my right now, like my concept Captain America and concept Mark 46. Okay, I like them, But I mean, with my Concept Mark 46, that's red and gold. I mean, it's going to be mimicked 3 times by the Mark 7, by the Mark 50, and the Battle Damage Mark 50. Yeah, it looks great, but it has no movie connection, no personal connection. It's just there. I mean, it's an amazing piece, but at the end of the day, now I kind of just see it as a ticket to another avenue.
Totally.
All right. And this won't be the last time we talk about this. We just kind of, I think it's a good discussion. I think these are all things that collectors, when and the thing too, and we say oftentimes of the collection updates, it's not to thump our chest and say all this stuff that we're able to do, because there's a lot of buying and selling, and sometimes it's the art of the deal that allows you to do some of these
timing and everything.
Yeah. So, and some of them are more exciting than others. It just happens that I've gotten rid of a lot of stuff recently. Because even it got to the point too where I almost had an empty DTOF, and even my wife came in. She's like, "What happened to all your figures?" I'm like, "Well, they're here in a box. I kind of traded them out for others." So
she was hoping they were gone.
You know what? Probably. But all right, guys. TC, do you think we're at a point we could do the drawing?
Yeah. So I've got all the members that responded.
Let me just
in a list.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll do the drawing now. So how many members do we have?
We've got 9 entries.
All right, let me go ahead and share my screen here. So we're just going to use a very scientific random number generator, random.org here, and we'll go ahead and just do a 1 through 9. So TC, do you have a number associated with each one of those?
I do. Yes.
All right.
Hold on. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Oh, 10.
Who's the 10th?
Oh, it's
Izar.
It is Izar.
Okay, so we have 10.
He's number 10. So that gives away one number.
All right. So we've got 10. We just want to do it on first roll here.
Second roll.
Second roll. Chris, second roll? Okay. Yep. All right. Just so everybody knows, we will do second roll once. So don't, if you see your name, actually, you don't even know what your number is because TC's hiding. We're not completely transparent on this, but we want to at least show. So we'll do 2 rolls. All right. Here goes number 1. Came up as number 1. Okay. This one's for, unfortunately, if you were number 1 earlier, maybe you get number 1 again, but you've got a 1 in 10 shot. All right, here we go. Drum roll, Chris. Okay, here we go. Number 3 is our winner.
Cameron Hicks.
All right.
Very
awesome.
Cool. Hopefully they're still watching.
Well, they can tune back in afterwards. So
I read that really fast, so there's no foul play.
All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and
thank you for the provider of the giveaway. Thank you.
Yeah, I know they wanted to remain anonymous, which is perfectly fine, but we know who they are, and we certainly appreciate it. All right, guys. Like I said, that won't be the last time we talk about just stuff that's kind of weighing us as collectors, and it's been a little bit of a dramatic shift for the 3 of us recently, and but at the end of the day, you know what it is? It's fun.
It is very fun.
Okay, guys. So we've got our feature figure review. 2 of us have this in hand. Chris, you've got yours, and I've been kind of staring at mine as I kind of try to fly him over my mic without dropping him. So I got to control the board here, Chris. I'll have you.
Fine.
Let's see here. Make sure I'll say one thing. Like, he stands awesome without a stand. Like, surprisingly well. Let's see if I can.
He's got his grippy feet. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. It's that.
And they articulate. It's nice.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I like. He's got a lot of detail. Look at that.
All right, so we've got Scarlet Spider, or Spider-Man in Scarlet Spider suit from Marvel's Spider-Man, the Sony PS4 game. And obviously this particular suit has a long, well, not necessarily a long history, but at least since the late 80s, early 90s with Scarlet Spider. Ben Reilly was the original Scarlet Spider. Obviously, in the PS4 game, it's just a suit you can wear. You're not actually Ben Reilly or the clone of Peter Parker. Allison would be the one to give you any of the background on the figure or the character. Anyways, but I remember, like, my brother is a couple years younger than me, and he always read Spider-Man comics. I remember that he had a couple issues with Scarlet Spider, and I just thought he looked really cool, but I didn't really get into the story, and that's really the only draw that I have to this. But when this thing dropped to the prototype on June 13th, 2019, which wasn't even that long ago, like, I instantly just was like, I know our buddy Mark said I went through the timeline, that the Fontaine timeline, like, oh, I don't want that. I don't know, that looks kind of cool. Oh, I pre-ordered it.
It was inevitable.
It was inevitable. And it's funny because we got it on the screen here. Chris, you were joking about like the sticky feet. Like, I feel like his little treads on the bottom of his feet are one of like the coolest parts of this figure.
They are. It's, yeah. I mean, so
we got a couple more. We got a couple more stats to go through quick before we dive into Chris. So,
go ahead.
VGM 34 from the video game line is retailed for $251. It was a Toy Fair exclusive in 2019. So the pre-order date was June 13th, 2019. It was released in Hong Kong just less than 2 months later, August 6th, 2019. It's kind of funny because of the short timeline. What you see in the prototype images are essentially what the figure was. There was no time to change anything, really. And one thing I noticed, guys, when I was collecting all the notes for the show tonight, is on August 6th, there was no blogger photos or anything. There was not even like a other than like the secret base photo that I think I've got. Yeah, I mean, basically the photo here was of the box, and it was like August 6th at Secret Base saying the figure's now available. Like, there wasn't any big social media release for this, so it was kind of hard to track down the information. But obviously it was only available through Sideshow stateside, and I believe it went on waitlist, Chris, within 24 hours?
Yeah, 24 hours is waitlist. I jumped on the pre-order, a couple hours after it went live on Sideshow, but I don't think I had seen that before, honestly, since I had been collecting a figure go that quickly. It's because some of the other Toy Fair exclusives in past were still sitting available at retail. But I think, I don't know, TC. I mean, had you seen that before, recently? Going.
I think even before I started collecting, like by the time I did, it was kind of rare. I can't remember if Battling Cap, the movie promo, went out pretty quick back when Civil War was about to be released. But that's not a Toy Fair exclusive. That was just a select release, the movie promo version. I don't know. This was definitely rare. You don't see this very often at all. I guess Stan Lee was kind of close to it, but yeah, it doesn't happen anymore. They don't want that to happen anymore. So this is definitely a rare case.
I just love this figure. The accessories with it, I mean, all the different little parts. So, Chris, it came with a ton of hands, 10 hands. The obviously the really detailed suit with a different material that you can actually pose and not worry about damaging the suit. So it came with a camera belt with little Spider-Mans on it, coffee cup, a donut, a smartphone, a slice of pizza, a pizza box, different spider web lengths, and the stand was pretty cool too. So, like, this thing, for what you paid for, you got a really good deal. Now, there's not a head sculpt underneath, because if it was going to be one, it would be what Peter Parker looks like in the PS4 game. And I think there's somebody did like a third party release of that recently, which looks spot on. I was like, if you've played the game and you see Peter Parker in the game without the suit on, you're like, damn. And they did that in hot toy format. It was almost hot toy format. I mean, it looks awesome.
Yeah, he's got so many options as far as posability goes with his accessories, the articulation, the flexibility of the suit. It's pretty crazy. I think what sold me really was that. I mean, and I think the other thing is the contrast of that bright red and then that kind of turquoise vest hoodie, I think just looks so cool. And, you know, he's pretty muscular physique, so that, you know, he doesn't look like teenage Peter Parker. He looks like he's been lifting. And then also the belt and the wrist, the cartridge bracelets, and then
it's like military grade stuff.
I mean, it's camo, and it just looks really cool. And I think all those contrasting colors, they look different, but they complement each other well. So I mean, that's a big thing for me, honestly. It's just the coolness factor, and Spider-Man's my number one superhero, even though Ben Reilly is low on my list as far as specific characters. But I think setting him in a lineup, he could go anywhere in your display, and he could go with any other Marvel characters. Doesn't have to just be a whole Spider-Man lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I guess TC, I'm bummed because like here we are saying how great this is, and I know you unfortunately had to send yours back.
No, it's all good. I hear what you guys are saying, and when I opened it up, it was pretty stunning figure to look at. The mold of the head sculpt is great. The accessories are probably some of the best we've gotten all year. Probably the best we've gotten all year for any figure. I mean, there's just so much stuff. The details and like the camera with the little Spidey heads on the camera strap, and then the pizza box with the stain, the pizza itself, the iPhone. I mean, it's just loaded. It's packed out.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say the only thing that I noticed when I was kind of moving it around was I would be somewhat wary of keeping the arms bent like beyond 90 degrees, because that printing, the webbing printing, it looks like, I think it's like glued onto the fabric. I can't tell for sure. It's not embedded. It's definitely on top of the regular plain red fabric. I think over time, I don't know. I mean, that would concern me about like glue issues if there's too much pressure at that point. But, other than that, I mean, you can pretty much put it in any pose you want. It's just like with any other figure, long term, I don't know how to react. But as far as what you got for an exclusive, like a Toy Fair exclusive, is really impressive offering.
I think that one of the things, so I'm just going to gush about the figure a little bit. I love the head sculpt. I love that it's, kind of rubberized. The eyes are phenomenal. I like the fact that they're not light up. And if you look really close, you can see the little dots and stuff in there. So they reflect light well. And it just gives it a different look where he doesn't have like a black outline around the eyes. The body underneath, I don't know what they used for the body type, but like it's a pretty bulked up Spider-Man. It's a lot different than you're going to get with current Tom Holland version, which is good enough to be different. If Tom Holland put this on, I don't think he would have filled it out as much. And obviously, as we've talked about it before, this was the inspiration for the homemade suit. Ryan Minderling, I can't ever say his name right. Minderding. Thank you, Chris. They drew on that for inspiration, and it's not exact. It's like the on-screen version of this, but I really feel like they could have done this on screen. Like they could, like if they can do it in figure form, they certainly could have done it on screen, and I think that would have been pretty cool. But I think, having Scarlet Spider show up in the first relaunch of, Spider-Man, and people would have had questions about that. But I don't know. I just absolutely love having this figure in my collection. It's my favorite Spider-Man that I have. and dare say I think it might be. It's definitely in my top 10 in my figures, and it might even be cracking top 5.
Whoa. And especially the way you obtained yours too.
Yeah, and I know people. The PJ, our friend PJ the Paradox Nerd, who's also helping out with Rogue 16, did like I won a waffle or whatever on his Instagram feed for like $20 or $25 or whatever it was. So the cost to acquire this, so there's always a story that's going to go by it too. So I don't think I could ever sell it just because of the story that goes with it. But I don't know.
You were originally did pre-order this, didn't you?
And I had given it up. And then I went back on the wait list, and then they converted after I'd gotten this, and good conscious, bad conscious. I was like, oh, well, I just convert it and I could sell it. But what I did is I gave our scavengers in our group the chance, if they wanted to, to get mine to hit me up, I would have, done a retail, and nobody else needed it. So I just let it go. So somebody else further down the wait list got one, but that's just how I collect. I can't, like I've said before, if I sell a figure and it's worth a lot at the time when I sell it, I'm obviously going to capitalize on what the market price is. But, for something brand new, I'm not going to capitalize on the opportunity cost because somebody else can't buy it. I mean, I'm not going to say the S word right now, but I don't know. I didn't feel good about doing that.
No, I hear you. Danny Lee is asking, do we think it's the same body as the advanced suit?
I don't know. Is it? I don't have that one, so
yeah,
it could be.
Well, the arms don't look the same at all.
No, I don't think it's
different.
I don't think it is, and that suit is very different from this suit. Sorry, he's Spidey's hanging upside down over here, holding some of the 6 scale t-shirts here for me. I think it's a different body. At least the arms are definitely different. It's really tough to say. I mean, that material is different. The way it fits on the body. Scarlet Spider is tighter to his body. That one has a little bit more. It's not quite as form fitting. I mean, he looks like he's been hitting the gym hard on leg day and bicep day, and so. But
Chris in the chat right now is saying it is a different body.
Yeah.
So
yeah, this guy's
Similar,
doing squats. Yeah. The other guy's doing yoga.
Yeah.
And just a quick aside too, like I completely spaced on like preparing the photos and stuff for the podcast. I wanted to grab the photo PJ took with Chris at New York Comic Con, and because he had one of our Scavenger t-shirts on, and I was just yeah, I mean that's always cool. I love the fact that other Scavengers have the chance to meet up, and it's Chris. Did you ever think like way back when that we'd ever have somebody else wear a t-shirt of our podcast? I mean, it's so humbling. I
know it is. It's awesome. I never really, obviously, we're like, oh man, it would be cool to do this someday or do that someday. And, but for it to actually happen, I mean, Chris, since he's joined the group, he's been a big supporter. So we really thank him for that. And, everybody that's joined in, especially on the, the live streams and that sort of thing. And it is crazy. It's crazy.
I just saw Greg in our private Facebook group. He's got his Action Figures Not Dolls shirt on in Las Vegas right now. That is so cool. Oh, yeah. And then Chris is saying he's headed to Baltimore Comic Con this weekend. So, Chris, I wish we had some swag or something to give you to hand out and stuff. I think Chris, I think we just have like some business cards from Vistaprint. I've been stalling on getting
tapped out.
Yeah, I know you did the t-shirts and stuff that are still up. People can hit you up if they want a 6 scale Scavengers t-shirt for one of their figures. We're still selling those, and I keep meaning to do a sticker order through Sticker Mule, but I just don't get around to it because I look at the cost of what it would. I mean, per sticker, it's not bad, but on the other hand, it's really expensive as a one-time order to do that. And like we've said before, we don't make any money doing this. This is all out of pocket. And you know, the eBay affiliate links help. The TeePublic per sales. So these shirts we're talking about, they help us offset. You know, we're basically, it's almost about $40 per month for our podcast hosting fees and stuff. And then all the blood, sweat, and tears that we all put into this just to make it happen. So it's but we do it because we love it. It's not work. And I would do it even if we didn't have, if we had 10 listeners, I would still do the same thing. So.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, I completely derailed our feature figure review here, that wild tangent. TC, anything you got in mind that we want to rate this figure on? I know I already kind of gave my rating away, but
I don't know, pizza slices.
Pizza slices. All right,
There
Chris,
you go.
how many pizza slices is Scarlet Spider?
He is 5 out of 5. I'm gonna steal your thunder.
I'm not even upset about that, my friend. Yeah, to me, it's 5 for 5. I don't really have any. Oh, we missed the donuts. We're talking. There was a donut that came with it too. So yeah, it just can completely. I can't find any fault with this. It's my favorite Spider-Man figure I have. It's ranks really high just because of the presence, the contrasting colors. It's obscure enough that I mean, I'd love to see this costume someday in the MCU on the big screen. But if not, I really just as our buddy Robert would give you grief for. I'm really digging this figure.
It's high. It's K2SO high.
There we go. So we'll probably be back. I don't know, guys. We haven't discussed amongst the three of us what the next review. We've got so many options now. I know Bucky's in contention, and there'll be some others and stuff too coming up. So it'll still probably be a lot of Marvel, but it's hopefully be a lot of Star Wars too. Out of context, when we reviewed Obi-Wan from Revenge of the Sith last time out, it was kind of weird because it was an older figure, but we kind of knew the Rogue One guys were going to come back with their review of the Ben Kenobi. So yeah, Roy and I had been talking about that. So in hindsight, it makes sense. At the time, it was kind of like, huh?
Yeah, I know. People are like, wait a second, all they do are Spider-Man and War Machine reviews, and now we're getting Obi-Wan. But no, I think when we started the podcast, our goal was to potentially alternate from one Star Wars one episode and then one Marvel the next episode, and it didn't really work out that way. Just because of the way the figures released and that sort of thing. And we never said we were going to keep doing figures that just came out. That's not really how we've done things. It just, sometimes it works out that way. But yeah, we've plenty of options. We each have an influx of Star Wars figures in hand. And what we try to do is at least one of us has to have the figure in hand to do a review. So it just makes things a little bit easier for us.
Guys, I just looked and we've been talking for an hour and 45 minutes. I think this is going to be our longest podcast episode ever.
Let's wrap this sucker up.
I know, man.
That is time. So it's that magical time of we're going to talk about our plugs. So we've got our website, Six Heel Scavengers. If you're watching on YouTube, you're already aware of our channel, but you can find us in the Google machine or searching on YouTube for Six Heel Scavengers. We've got this show. We've got Rogue One 6 that we've talked about. That's all Star Wars. And then we have our Scavengers Assemble hosted by Steve. And we get a lot of the different people in our community together, mostly just talking about the recent news and stuff. But it's great with all the different insight and stuff that we have. Some really knowledgeable people with really diverse backgrounds. And Steve's been killing it with guests lately, like Yost, Jank and Wong. And hopefully we're able to get some others coming in because it's great to get different feedbacks and part of the community, because there's a lot of great people in this community. Especially guys like John Martino's Tashi Station. I'm sure they're gearing up for Spooktacular soon, and they're their group chat, the guys over at Collecting Weekly, Dean and Zach and the rest of the gang there doing fantastic stuff. So we mentioned our TeePublic store. I think there's going to be a sale going on soon. So if you love some of the t-shirts, I know I'm rocking the OG logo. Chris has got a sweatshirt on.
I got a hoodie.
TC's got the, I think TC and I are wearing the same shirt.
I need a new one.
Well, we'll see if we can hook you up, my friend. So we have our private Facebook page out there. We do ask that you answer the questions, but answer the questions in a way that we know that you've listened to our content is, I guess, one thing. I know Matt always says, answer the questions, but answer them in a way that we know that you want to really be part of the community. We try to be careful and who we let in because we've got a really good vibe going on there. We're on Instagram. There's our public Facebook page as well. And of course, if you're listening to the audio, we're on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, and directly on sixhillscavengers.libsyn.com. Guys, any other final thoughts?
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, great conversation. Lots of topics discussed and lots of figures in and out of our collection. So I don't think next episode will be quite as dramatic, quite as dramatic as a collection update, but you never know.
There are 2 weeks.
Yeah, there's 2 weeks. I'm just thinking it too. I forgot to put it in the notes. I guess I talked about it in the news, but I did pre-order Thor and Hulk.
Yeah, and I had Boba Fett over here too. I got the regular version. I forgot to talk about that. So
I like you just said, guys, I think the next one's gonna be a little bit slower. So again, Cameron, reach out to us afterwards and we'll hook you up with that 4K copy of Spider-Man Far From Home. Thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. A lot of great discussion in the chat. We certainly appreciate it. It makes doing these shows even more fun with that live interaction. And Chris, I know we broke the streak at 31 with you doing the sign off, the call Ripken, the hamster wheel kicked out. TC and I had to cover for your bleep and try to keep this a family show. And so we'll have to start a new streak. So episode 32, game 1 of the Cal Ripken streak here, Chris. So bring us home.
Excelsior.